What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. If you're watching this video, chances are that you're very interested in real estate investing. Well, today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can confidently analyze an investment property to get the best deal for yourself. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright guys, if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Ken, and in this channel we talk about how you can achieve financial freedom sooner through real estate and stock investing. Now today's video is going to be a bit long because I'm going to take my time to show you how I analyze a potential rental property to ensure that I'm getting the best deal. The approach shown in today's video can be used to analyze any rental property, whether you're looking to house hack or purchase a single family or multi-family investment property. But before we get into it, I need you guys to do me a huge favor and smash that like button and also hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already done so. It takes a lot of time to produce videos like this, and your support goes a long way in encouraging and motivating me to provide more good content for you in the future. Alright, thanks everyone. Follow me over as we go crunch some numbers. Alright guys, so this is my analysis spreadsheet. We're going to start with a single family home analysis. So on this spreadsheet, I created several sections just to keep things organized. So in the first section here is the investment section, where we provide all the information on the investment property. And then we have the income section, the expense section, mortgage payment section, debt payment section, property appreciation section, and tax deduction sections. Now the bottom four sections here provide four different ways you can make money through real estate investing. And I'm going to talk about those in details as we analyze the property. Well, first off, we're going to go over to Zillow and go look for a property that we could use for our analysis. Alright guys, so I'm on Zillow and I already found this beautiful townhome for you guys. So this is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhome in the Charleston area in South Carolina. And I chose Charleston because that's where I resided, and I know the market very well. I know, what rents cost and what utility cost and all that. So this property costs $220,000. And what I really like about this property is that it has 3 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms, okay? And when you hover over these 4 bathrooms, you can see it has 3 full bathrooms. Now, that is a plus, okay? Whenever you're house hacking, it's always better when all bedrooms have their own bathrooms, okay? And that way, tenants or your roommates don't have to share bathrooms with other people. I've seen issues come up with that before. Now, it's not necessary for you to find a property in which all bedrooms have their own bathrooms, but if you do find one, it's always a plus, and you can typically get higher rents with that. Another thing about this property also I like is that it's a townhome, and typically the HOA covers all of the lawn care and exterior maintenance issues. And as a landlord, I don't like to be bothered with having to do landscaping and lawn care and all of that. If the HOA is low enough and covers that, that's good for me. So I typically look for properties that have HOAs of less than $150 per month. And this property, I know it very well, has a HOA of $92. Okay, so we're going to go with this for our analysis. So I'm going to head back to my Excel sheet and then we can crunch the numbers. All right, so we're back to the spreadsheet. Now that we know the cost of the property, we can put it down here. So that was $220,000. For the down payment, you never want to pay cash on an investment property because when you pay cash, you're basically limiting your return on investment, okay? So to maximize your return, you want to put down as low a down payment as possible. I always go with a conventional loan, which allows me to put down as little as 5%. So here, I'm going to put down 5%. And the reason I'm able to put down 5% is because I'm purchasing this property as an owner-occupied property, which means that I'm going to be living in there, even though I'm going to be renting out some of the rooms, okay? If I also purchase this property as an investment property, meaning I wouldn't live in the property, I would have had to put down a minimum of 20%, okay? So for an owner-occupied property, you can put down as little as 5% if you're using a conventional loan. There are also going to be closing costs attached to this property. Anytime you buy a property, whether it's an investment property or a personal property, a residential property, you're always going to pay closing costs. Closing costs typically ranges anywhere from 2 to 3% and covers things like the attorney fees, title insurance, inspection fees, and a whole lot of other costs. Now, in some cases, you could negotiate that in such a way that the seller could cover the closing costs. But whenever you're conducting an analysis on a rental property, you always want to assume or plan for worst case scenario. Okay, so I'm going to assume that I'm the buyer. I'm going to be responsible for paying the closing costs. I'm going to put 2% here. Furnishings. I think whenever you're house hacking, I've seen from experience that tenants are willing to pay more rent for a furnished room versus rooms that are not furnished. Okay. Now, this is not required. If you don't have the cash to purchase furniture, you don't have to. But if you have some cash, I think it's a wise investment to furnish all the rooms and just make the rooms ready to go for the tenants. So I'm going to assume $4,000 here to furnish the other 2 bedrooms. Repairs, I'm going to assume no repairs on this property. Now, if you're buying a property that you might need to do a little TLC, then you need to account for that also here. So right here, you can see the total capital is just over 19,400. So this is the total amount spent to acquire the property and also get it ready to be rented out to individuals. And this is basically the sum of the down payment, closing costs, and furniture costs. Next up is income. Okay, now because you have this property that you're house hacking, you have to treat it as a true investment, which means that even though you're living in the property, okay, you also have to assume that you're going to be paying rent, just as the other tenants will be paying rent also. And the reason I say this is because if your aim is to build up a portfolio of real estate investment properties, you have to remember that eventually you're going to move out from this property after maybe 1 or 2 years and have it fully rented out. Okay, so you want to plan for that scenario by running the numbers as if it was fully rented. I know this area very well. I know this property very well. I actually have another property on the same street as this property, so I have a very good idea of what the rents are. Rents typically range anywhere from $700 to $750 for a furnished bedroom. So for my analysis, I'm going to go with $725. Now each room has its own bathroom, so the rent will be the same. Another thing you have to account for is vacancy. Okay, so anytime a tenant leaves, there's usually a period of time that is required to get the room ready for the next tenant, and that is also going to eat up out from your income. So you have to account for that. Now in the Charleston area, I've seen that the vacancy rate here is quite low. It usually takes me less than a week to get the room ready for the next tenants, and Charleston is a hot market. There are always people out there who are looking to rent, and I've seen that my vacancy rate over the years has always been less than 3%. So I'm just going to go here with 3%, which I think is quite conservative for me. You need to check this out wherever you're living. Some areas might take a little longer to have the room rented out. So I think safe bet is to use 6 to 8%, but just for my analysis for this property, because I understand the market very well, I'm comfortable using 3%. When you put down 3%, you can see that the annual gross income is reduced to $25,317. Okay, and so this will be the gross income, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But moving on to expenses. Now this rent here is an all-inclusive rent. Okay, so the tenant pays the rent and it basically covers everything. Okay, so you, the landlord, you, the homeowner, will be responsible for all of the expenses. So you also have to account for that. Now this property, like I said, I know it very well. The HOA fee is $92 and typically covers lawn care. So I'm not going to put anything down here. Electricity, I've seen that to be anywhere from, for this square footage, I've seen that to be anywhere from $150 to $200. So I'm going to go to 180. Water, $80. Internet, $60. Okay. Now again, you need to check this out. It could vary depending on the property. If you're purchasing a property that has a higher square foot, you're going to have higher electricity bills. Okay. If you're purchasing a property that maybe has 4 bedrooms, the water bill is going to be higher because more people require more water. So you need to, check those numbers and see if they make sense for you. Property management, I'm going to leave that at 0 because when you're house hacking, you're basically self-managing the property. It really doesn't make sense to hire a property manager when you're actually living in the property. Okay. Now, capex, I had this at 5%. Capex, what capex means here is just capital expenditures, okay? So you want to have a reserve account where you can store money for future uh, capital expenditures, and this refers to things like changing the roofs or changing the HVAC system or water heater. So these are not expenses you make every year. These are more like long-term expenses you plan for, things that you would have to change maybe every 15 or 20 years. Okay, so you want to have a reserve account to store money for that. And I put down 5%. I usually encourage people to put down like around 8 to 10%. The reason I put down 5% is because I know that the HOA here covers the roof. Okay, so again, you need to know what property you're purchasing. Okay, if the HOA doesn't cover the roof, you might maybe want to put down a higher capex amount. But for this property, I know that I wouldn't have to. In most cases, I wouldn't have to replace the roof from my own account. Okay. Now, maintenance. So these are like other general maintenance issues that might come up, and this is more like on an annual basis. So every time a roommate leaves, you might need to change the locks. You could have broken down appliances. You could have you might need to repaint some of the rooms to get it ready for the next tenant. Or you might need to change the carpet, things like that. So these are like general basic maintenance issues that you would have to fix, or that you would be responsible for paying for every year. So 5% is a good number. Again, it takes a while to really know what those numbers would be. I've seen from all my properties, 5% is quite conservative. If you're purchasing an older property that has a lot of wear and tear, you might need to put down a higher percentage, again, maybe 8 to 10%. If you're purchasing a brand new property or a property that's been recently remodeled, you could get away with like a lower percentage here for maintenance issues. But when you add up all the expenses, you can see that's almost $7,500 on an annual basis. And here in red, I like to always know what the total expense is as a percentage of the gross income. I like to keep my expenses below 30%. So you can see right here is just at 30%. So that's very good for me. Now here at the bottom, we're going to look at the 4 different ways you can make money through real estate investing. Okay. And the first and the most important way is cash on cash return. And what cash on cash return basically is your net cash flow divided by your total capital. Again, cash on cash return is your net cash flow divided by your total capital. Your net cash flow is basically, you take your annual gross income and you subtract all of your expenses, and also you subtract all of the payments you make to the bank every year. Okay, so you're going to make expenses every year, and you're also going to have to send a check to the bank that covers your principal, interest, and escrow amount every year. So when you subtract all of your outflow, okay, all of your expenses from all of your inflow, which is the amount you get paid from the tenant in rent every year, that turns out to be your cash flow. Okay, and cash flow is very important. Okay, I never buy a property that doesn't have a good cash flow. Okay, so cash flow is more like your passive income, or you can regard that as almost like a dividend you get back. When you purchase a stock, you get paid dividends every year. So that cash flow really is more like income. And if you're trying to achieve financial freedom, you always have to have cash flow because that's basically what's going to keep, be providing income for you on an annual basis. So the cash flow again is the net cash flow divided by the total capital. The total capital is the total amount you spent getting the property ready. Okay, it's not just your down payment, it's also your down payment, your closing costs, furnitures, and repairs. Okay, you have to add everything you spent to acquire that property and get it ready for renting. Okay, now to determine the cash flow, there are a few things we need to determine. We need to determine what the principal and interest is. Okay, and to do that, you need to determine what the loan rate and the term is. Okay, so in 2021, we all know interest rates are quite low. So if you have a good credit score, you might be able to get a 3% interest rate for 30 years. Okay, so this could change depending on what your credit score is or your financial situation. So just put down the numbers you think you might qualify for based on what your credit score is. You can always contact a lender to find out. And when I put that in here, you can see the principal and interest on an annual basis is about $10,600. On a monthly basis is $881. Now, in addition to the principal and interest, there are other fees that you have to pay to the bank every month, okay? And it's considered escrow. And that escrow consists of taxes, insurance, and PMI, okay? So taxes and insurance, those are typical numbers in the Charleston area, okay? This could vary also from city to city or from state to state. So you want to make sure you have the right numbers in there before you run these numbers. PMI, I'm going to put 0.04. 0.004, and I've seen, yeah, got it. So yeah, I've seen this to be a typical number for me. Again, your PMI depends on your credit score and also on the lender, okay? And I have a lender I work with, and I always get the same rate anytime I purchase a property, so I'm comfortable using this number. Again, you want to check this out with your lender. But you could, if you have an excellent credit, you could use 0.04% to start with. When I do that, you can see I almost have a 10% cash on cash return, which I think is excellent for me. Usually, folks, you have to set targets on any property you want to purchase, okay? And for me, I'm okay with anything greater than an 8% cash on cash return. Now, I know there are some people out there who are okay with 5%. There's some people out there who wouldn't take anything less than 15%. So again, this is a personal decision. You have to know what's right for you. But for my long-term goals, what I'm trying to achieve financially, and how soon I want to attain financial freedom, I usually target a minimum of 8%. Okay, so this is an excellent cash and cash return for me. Now, a cash and cash return is very important. No matter how good this property is. If I can't get my minimum cash and cash return, I'm not investing in the property. I'm not purchasing this property. Okay, so this takes away the emotional aspect of how nice the property is. You really have to look at the numbers and make a decision based on how much return you're going to get. So this is the most important way you can make money, cash and cash return. The second way you can make money through real estate investing is what we call principal pay down return. And basically what principal pay down return is more like a phantom return, because you're not actually receiving this money into your account. But what it does is that it increases your net worth every month, okay? So whenever you make a payment to the bank, okay, a portion of that payment goes towards your escrow, which includes taxes, insurance, and PMI. A portion of it goes towards interest. And then the balance goes towards the principal, which is the debt load on the property. So you're paying down the debt load on the property. So take for example, now you borrowed $209,000. So anytime you send this $13,000 every month, about maybe $350 will go towards paying down this loan amount. So your balance in the next month would be, say, $208,000 and some change. Okay, and that is not money you're actually paying. That is money that is being paid by your tenants. Okay, so it's a return because you're reducing your debt load and increasing your equity and your net worth. Okay, so to calculate the principal pay down return is you determine the total principal pay down during the year and divide that by your total capital. And then that gives you 22.2% pay down return. The third way you can make money through real estate investing is property appreciation. Okay, now 2021 is an extraordinary year. We've seen properties increase in some states up to 20%. You don't want to use that numbers when running or conducting your analysis. Okay, you want to use average numbers. Okay, and on average, properties in America typically keeps up with inflation, so you can see an appreciation rate of 3%. Now, in the Charleston area, I know for a fact that since I've moved here, we've seen properties increase on average 7% on an annual basis. But for my analysis, I'm always going to consider worst case scenario, because there could be downturns in the market some years. So I'm going to assume 3%. And you can see 3% of $220,000 is $6,600. And the appreciation return is 34%. So that's $6,600 divided by the total capital invested. Okay. And folks, I want to draw a little bit on this because you need to understand the power of leverage. Okay. if I had decided to pay cash for this property, okay, so assuming I put down 100% down payment, so I paid cash for this property, you see my appreciation return reduces to just 3%. Okay, so principal property appreciation your property appreciation can be very large when you put down a low down payment, and that's why you always want to harness the power of leverage. Okay, even if I had cash, I could take this $228,000 and purchase maybe 5 or 6 more properties, and each property would give me $6,600 versus just collecting $6,600 on just one property. Okay, so you always want to put down as low down payments as possible to maximize your return and your appreciation return on the property. Now, the fourth and final way to make money, and I love this one, is tax deductions. Okay, now real estate investing is very unique because unlike most other investment methods like the stock market and cryptocurrency, the IRS allows you to deduct so many expenses that reduces your taxable income. What do I mean by that? So take for example, you can see on this property your gross income was $25,317. On any other kind of investment vehicle or method, if you made $25,300 on it, you would have had to pay taxes on this amount. Okay, so and depending on what tax bracket you belong to, that could be very significant. But with real estate, you can deduct so many things. You can deduct all of the expenses paid to maintain the property. Basically, all operational costs required to keep the investment working can be deducted. Okay, you can deduct taxes, you can deduct insurance, you can deduct interest. Okay, depreciation. Now, this depreciation is almost like another phantom return, because you're not actually making this $6,800. You're not actually paying that amount. Okay, what the IRS does is that the IRS considers a real estate property to be one that undergoes wear and tear over time. Okay, so they allow you to depreciate the building part of it, not the land. Okay, so I purchased this property $220,000. Say the land is 15% of that. Okay, the land is not considered to be a depreciable asset. Okay, but the structure on top of it, the building, the wood, and everything on it can be depreciated. So that amount can be depreciated over 27.5 years. Okay, so you can divide that structural amount, which in this case could be like 85% of the cost of the property. You could divide that by 27.5 and depreciate that amount every year, which is quite remarkable. Furnitures, you could also depreciate it. There's a complex formula to determine how to depreciate furnitures, but typically you can depreciate it over a period of 5 years. I strongly recommend, when handling taxes, you want to work with a qualified CPA. For this example, for this analysis, I'm just going to assume that we're able to depreciate the furniture cost equally every year for 5 years. So you can see the total tax deduction is $26,000, okay? And I made $25,000. So if you subtract $25,000 minus $26,000, that's almost less than zero actually. So you're not going to pay any taxes. You're actually going to be owed some money by the IRS. Okay, so here I'm assuming an individual who makes $50,000. I already ran the numbers here to determine the effective tax rate. So this, you can see you have a negative tax, which means that you could actually apply this tax loss to some other income source, like your regular job or things like something else. And you can see here that by just being able to deduct all of this, you've saved over $4,500. This $4,500 is money that you would have had to pay in taxes if you had made this kind of return in any other investment type, like the stock market or maybe cryptocurrency or things like that, or even in your business. Okay, so I consider that to be a return because that's money you can keep and use for whatever you want to use it for. So as a percentage, that's 23.4% off the total capital. So folks, you can see the total returns when you add the total cash flow to the principal pay down to the appreciation amount to the tax savings is just over $13,000. which is 67.2%. Folks, let that sink in for a moment. 67.2%. That's why I love real estate, because you can make extraordinary high returns on your capital. Okay, and house hacking provides an opportunity to make returns like this. Okay, if I was to purchase this property as an investment property, so a property that I wouldn't live in but just rent out fully to someone, I would have had to put down a minimum of 20% down payment, and my interest rate would also be higher because it's considered a rental property, which is high risk. So maybe I put down 4%. You can see my returns would have reduced to 24%. Okay, but because I'm house hacking, I can put down a low down payment, and I also qualify for a low interest rate. Okay, so if you're able to make that sacrifice, okay, and just house hack and have roommates for maybe 1 or 2 years, I mean, these returns are going to be there forever. Even when you move out of the property, the terms of this investment wouldn't change. Your loan rates would increase. You won't have to increase your down payment to bring it up to 20%. Okay, so these returns will always continue to be there. Every year you can increase rent, so your cash and cash return will increase. Every year as you keep making payments, the amount of interest you're paying reduces and the amount of principal you're paying increases, so your principal pay down is also going to increase. So year over year, this number would actually increase, okay, which is quite remarkable. So folks, that's it for single family home. Next up, we're going to go to the fourplex. So this is the fourplex. We're going to assume that we're going to purchase 4 townhomes similar to the one we analyzed here. So each of this townhome here was $220,000. So 4 times that would be $880,000. Now, whenever you're purchasing a fourplex, which is identical, which has an identical unit, typically the cost will be lower. But so if I was to purchase 4 of those single-family homes attached together, I wouldn't have to pay $880,000. It would actually be lower. But for this example, I'm going to assume that the cost is exactly 4 times that amount. And then I'm going to put in the same numbers here: 5% down payments, 2% closing costs. For income, now I have 4 units. Okay. Now remember, for the single-family home, we were able to charge a rent of $725 for each bedroom. Okay, so for all 3 bedrooms, that would have been $2,150. Now, because I'm renting out each unit to just a single family, not to roommates, the rent is going to be lower. Okay, so I'm not going to charge $2,150 for each unit. Okay, so we can reduce that to say $1,800, which is what is typical right now in the Charleston area for this square footage property. So $1,800. Okay, vacancy, put that at 3%. Expenses, the only thing you'll be responsible for here is the HOA fees. We're going to assume that because we have 4 similar properties, the HOA would be 92 times 4. And utilities, you won't have to worry about this because you have single families that live in each unit, and each of them will be responsible for their own utilities. So now here I put CapEx 7%. I made it slightly higher because it's a multi-family, so there might be other capital expenditures that are required. So I'm going to leave that at 7%. The loan rate still going to be the same because you're purchasing a 1 to 4 units, a 4 units apartment complex, and you're still going to be living in one of them. Okay, so it's still considered house hacking, and you can qualify for also a low interest. So now you see your cash and cash return here is 9.2%, which is still very good. Even let's see what happens when I put in property management, because this is a larger unit, so maybe you might not be able to manage it yourself. Property management typically ranges anywhere from 8 to 10%. So you can see at 8%, you're actually making a loss. So what that means is that There are either two things you can do. You can negotiate this price down, or you self-manage it for 1 year and then increase rent the following year to bring your cash and cash return up. Okay, but to make things simple, we're going to assume that you're going to self-manage it. You live in 1 unit and you can manage the other 3 units yourself. Appreciation rate will keep it the same at 3%. Tax bracket, we're also going to assume that an individual here makes $50,000, so that would be a 17% effective tax rate. And so you can see, how do I get this out? Let's see. Okay. So overall, you still have a very good return, almost $50,000 returns on the first year. Return on investment 81%. Okay, so still a very good return. And I show this out here for those of y'all who are not comfortable house hacking and sharing your living space with other people. You can still house hack by purchasing a multi-family, live in 1 unit, and then rent out the other 3 units, and still make amazing returns. So finally, we're going to do a stock market analysis. So we're going to use the single family home. Going back here, you can see for the single family home, total capital investment here was $19,400. So now we're going to assume that, okay, we take that $19,400 and purchase an ETF. We're going to use the S&P 500 index, and we're going to purchase that with that capital. And I've already done the math here for you guys. So that $19,400 would be your capital investment. Typically, if you're using Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, which is the VOO, that comes with a 0.3% management expense, and the dividend payout is about 3% on an annual basis. So even if we assume that the stock appreciates 30%, which is quite, I would say, ambitious. On average, S&P 500 has an annual appreciation of 8 to 10%. But we're going to be quite generous here and just assume 30%. Okay. You can see that the capital gains here is $58 to $20. Okay. Now, for someone who makes $50,000, if you can hold on to this stock for 1 year, you would have to pay only a 15% capital, a 15% capital gains tax. Okay. Now the thing about stock market investing is you can't get those tax benefits like real estate, so you still have to pay those taxes. And you can see when you add up all of your gains, so basically stock appreciation plus dividend, and then subtract management expenses and taxes, your total return is almost $5,400, which is still very good. That's a 28% return, but still nothing close to what we saw here with a real estate investment property. Now, I'm not saying stock market is bad. Stock market is an excellent way to grow your money, and you should do it. I actually have a lot of stocks. On another video, I'm going to talk about wise ways to invest your money in the stock market. But what I'm trying to show here is just a comparison between real estate investing and stock market investing. On average, you're always going to get better returns through real estate investing versus stock market investing. Now, it does come with a little bit of work. You can see to purchase a real estate, you need to do a lot of research. You need to, really, to purchase one property, you must have viewed like 50 to 100 properties. You need to know how to run the numbers. You need to manage the property very well and do a lot of different things. So it's not as passive as the stock market, but the returns, are still very good. So if you're willing to put in a little bit of effort, you can make more money through real estate investing. Okay. Now, real estate investing is not for everyone out there, but I just want to point this out here that there are ways you can make more returns if you're willing to learn and put in the work. So, folks, yeah, I just want to show you guys this analysis, so you guys can have an understanding. If you've not been investing, you need to start investing now. Whichever investment vehicle you use, be it real estate or be it stock markets, the most important thing is that you need to start investing now, because The only way to achieve financial freedom, the only way to, increase your wealth is by multiplying your money and leaving your money in the bank. The bank is only going to pay you less than 1% every year on your money. There are other ways you can increase and multiply your money. And the only two ways I know, there are other ways, but the two ways I like the best is through real estate and stock market investing. So there it is, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you not only learned a lot from it, but also feel more confident in running your own numbers. If you did, please remember to hit the like button and also drop a comment below if you want me to upload the spreadsheet so that you could use it to run numbers on your own properties. Finally, please remember to subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified when next I post another video. I look forward to seeing you on the next video, where my goal is to help you get one step closer to financial freedom. Thanks for watching and see you next time.